Stop the insanity. Get focused on what really matters in life. Your faith, your family, your finances, and your future. Now sit back and change the trajectory of your life. This is Money for Life, brought to you by the 100-Year Savings Solution. Are you concerned about the markets? Stop taking unnecessary risks with your money while also getting great benefits. Visit us at 100yearsavings.com. Now, let's welcome your Money for Life hosts, Teresa Kuhn and Rick Sapio.
Hello, everyone. This is Rick Sapio. Good to see you again, Teresa. I'm looking at her on camera, so we are in different locations, but I can see her and you can hear us. Welcome to another episode of Money for Life. Give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt. And that was a quote by Juvenal way back in ancient Rome. Give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt. And wow, when a society reaches a point, a zenith, I would say, and the people that are generations removed from those who risked their lives to create that society, man, you got to give them bread and circuses to make sure they don't revolt. The name of this podcast is Purpose versus Food, Drink, Entertainment, and Circus. And God, this is something that I've struggled with personally my whole life because I just can't get my thoughts through to society. I'm a weird individual from the perspective of I've never had a TV. I've never been a sports fan. I've never played fantasy football. I don't have obsessions like that. I'm not perfect, don't get me wrong, but I want people to see that all this massive pop culture, all these sports, all of this fascination with electronics and social media and news is designed to keep you focused on everything but your purpose. And people that accomplish massive things in the world, they don't walk around giving a damn about pop culture. And I love the story about Dean Kamen, the famous inventor who has more than 1,000 patents. And he was about 60 years old, and one of his employees recently, well, in the last 10 years, I'm told, walked into the room and was talking about Madonna. And he said something like, am I the only stupid one? Who's Madonna? And I just love that story because people who are passionate and on purpose could give a damn about food, drink, entertainment, and circus. Welcome to a deep and passionate topic for me because I think we were just lulled by all this nonsense that is so unimportant. And we have our kids believe that it is. How do you circumvent or navigate this dilemma?
So I just want to clarify for the audience, the individual you're speaking of is the guy that invented the Segway. And certainly, we look at these people in our world and we know them, the masters, geniuses in a certain area, and they are different. They certainly do not fit in society. And is that a bad thing? I mean, you don't necessarily fit in, and you're really passionate about the work that you do and the family, your family and how you bring them up. And you certainly have lived by example, and you're not into any of the traditional entertainment. I chose a long time ago, I chose not to drink. And so in terms of partying, it just was never my thing, at least as an adult. In college, certainly I went out, but as an adult, just wasn't my thing. So when I talk to people and they had a blast going out and getting drunk or doing whatever they do, just has never been my thing. I do like music. I live in Austin, Texas. Live music's fun, but it's an occasional thing. I do love my work. I love my family. I love kicking the can and accomplishing things. That's really where I get my sense of accomplishment.
What you're pointing out is that these diversions for you are occasional, but really your purpose-driven life is the time between when you wake up in the morning and when you go to bed at night. Unfortunately, life has become, for the vast majority of people in America at least, life has become what happens to you between screens. So there's no time to do anything else between screens other than go to the bathroom and, you know, maybe have an argument with somebody. But our life has become screens, and the screens have replaced the food, drink, entertainment, circus, and gore of Roman times. As we're preparing for this, it really occurred to me that at a very young age, I was exposed to Roman history. And for whatever reason, my young mind focused on this. And I said, wait a minute, there's people at the top that take advantage of us by promulgating and promoting this BS. I'm not going to succumb to it. And I just made a decision at an early age. I mean, the thought of being involved in fantasy football is absolutely insane to me. Now, if you're addicted to fantasy football and you defend that addiction, that's completely your life and your call. What Therese and I are exposing right now is you're being manipulated, you're being controlled, and you're, you know, at some level, not living a fully expressed, purpose-driven life. I'd like you to consider that.
What's happening, Rick, is you're being lulled to sleep. You're being lulled in a trance, right? The whole world is passing you by while you're engaged in the fantasy football, watching sports, watching TV, getting engaged and getting sucked into somebody else's life. I remember when my son was young and he'd sit there and watch, which again, occasionally, I think there's nothing wrong with that. But weekend after weekend, when I watch this, I say, whose life are you living? Who is this about? Those guys don't care anything about you. Nothing. They don't even think about you. You are helping them in their dreams. What about your dreams? What about what you want?
I have occasionally over the years listened to people, Coffee Clutch, and talk about the royal family. And they know all about the royal family. I can't even name the names of the royal family. But whether it's People magazine and actors and actresses or whoever else you follow, I often say when I'm in one of those coffee clutches, do you think the royal family talks about you as much as you talk about them? Like, why are you worshiping people you don't even know? It makes no sense. It's irrelevant to your life. But all of these distractions are because I think most of us are unwilling or afraid to figure out how powerful we really are individually. You, if you're listening to this, are an extremely powerful person, and you were put on this earth to get massive things done. That doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. That doesn't mean you have to give away $1 billion. But there is a reason why your life exists. And I think our job is to find that out individually. I was at the dentist yesterday, and the dentist was late, and I'm sitting there, and I got into this conversation with the girl behind the counter, and she started talking, and I'm like, well, you know, she was complaining that she's gained a little weight, and I go, well, what do you do at night? She goes, oh, I got into this habit of watching TV after work. And I go, well, why are you doing that? She goes, well, my kids are out of the house now, and my husband and I are divorced. I go, when do you turn the TV on? She said 5 p.m. I go, when do you turn it off? She goes, when I go to bed about 11. And I said, and you're watching TV from 5 to 11? She goes, oh yeah, every night. And I started doing the math in my head. That's 6 times 7. And then I realized, holy shit, that's the average American TV consumption is about 40 hours a week. And I thought, wow, that is shocking. Yet people who are on purpose that have 0 TV time, that's 2,000 hours a year that they're committing to that, you know, learning that musical trade. Like my friend Al, who became a concert pianist at the age of 60, never touched a piano in his life, but he decided, I'm going to do piano 3 hours a day. And, you know, people don't realize they have a choice. And I said, Debbie, I know you don't know me, but you do have a choice, right? And she acted like, no, my kids are out of the house, and like that's my only option. It was weird.
Imagine if Debbie chose to go to bed early instead, right? And maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, so that she'd have a really nice restful sleep, wake up early and go exercise when the sun's coming up, or engage in a hobby, or, you know, find something that she loves to do. even if it's just serving others, right? Even if it's going out there and going to a soup kitchen or finding a child that needs mentoring. Imagine the television, sitting on your butt watching 40 hours a week of television. It breaks my heart. Because you know, one of my favorite sayings, Rick, what the television is, it's tell a vision. It's them telling you a vision. It's programming. It's lulling you into a trance to get you to think the way they want you to think, whoever they is, right? I've observed culture for a very, very long time, and I do dabble in what's going on in the culture from what I think more of an academic, interesting perspective. And I wish I was around during the Roman times to see how, you know, this amazing, great empire crumbled, and how when they wanted to control the citizens, they made sure they had bread to keep their tummies satisfied and entertainment. And the entertainment back then was called circuses, but they were spectacular events to engage the citizenry. And each event was made more and more and more over the top. Because when people got used to seeing something that was at one point over the top, they needed to make it more hysterical.
More of a spectacle. But aren't you seeing that now in society? Look at what's happening in, for example, pornography. It's getting more and more extreme. Look at what's happening in social media. Look at what's happening in all different things. You know, 4 major sports were not enough to consume us. Now we need 10 major sports and all kinds of other things like X Games to keep us busy. Now, I always say to my kids, do you want to be the guy in the stands or the guy on the field? Do you want to be the woman in the stands or the woman on the field? And they go, no, we want to be on the field. I am not saying you shouldn't enjoy sports. What I am saying is what's far more important is finding your purpose. That's why we title this Purpose versus Food, Drink, Entertainment, and Circus. And to go back to Debbie, which makes the final point of that story the most interesting, is she said, when you're my age, you'll probably be the same way. She said that to me. And I said, what year were you born? And she said, proudly, 1973. I said, take a look at my chart, which she had in her hand, by the way. She looked down at her chart and realized that I was 10 years older than her. But she said, when you're my age. I said, so my point is, people have this preconceived notion that, you know, when my kids are out of the house, then I'll, whatever, get to relax. And in her case, it was I get to watch TV for the rest of my life. The other thing that just really hammers this point home is how many people, and look at the statistics on this, Teresa, you probably know them better than me because you've sold far more insurance. The average age that someone lives after they retire, if they wait till, you know, retirement age, like 60 to 65, is something like 5 years if they go into full retirement. So people work their whole life, they get to full retirement, and then what happens? They sit on their butt or they do less important activities. But I think the reason that you exist is not the job anymore that you had for 30 years. It's like you're trying to find yourself. Why do you think, Teresa, and you know the stats better than I do, that the death rate accelerates for people after retirement, but doesn't for entrepreneurs who don't retire, who keep working and doing exciting things?
Well, I think their world becomes very, very small. Just think about it. Most people that retire, they may not have as much money to do all the things that they want to do. Retirement can be expensive. When you're working, you're engaged, you're engaging your mind, you're engaging your body, you're engaging your spirit, right? And I get that people make a choice to work a job or a profession that they're not in love with. And by the time they get to be in their 60s, they're like, I want to retire. I want to get out of the job. But their world becomes so small. Their social circle becomes so small. If they're engaged in television, they're not using their brain. They're not speaking. They're not writing. They're not reading, right? How many people are reading these days? Very, very few people. I've had the blessing of having some amazing mentors in my life who lived to be into their late 80s, engaged in life. My father is going to be 84 years old and he is still working. And you know what? He's in great physical shape. He's got a lot of spirit and his mind is so sharp. He's so with it. Why? Because he's engaging with his patients who he adores. He's engaging with his colleagues. He has to keep up with his continuing education to be a doctor, right? Per his license. He's got to use his brain. He's got to get out of bed and he's got to show up to a clinic. There's mobility. He's got to walk around his clinic outside of his home. Again, just think how small our worlds become when we stop working. It's really, really very sad.
I was at a buddy of mine's house who has an old dog, and the dog was limping around, couldn't get up the stairs anymore on its deathbed, and they were going to put the dog to sleep. But before they did that, they wanted the dog to meet their new puppy. So they got the new puppy, and now it's 2 years later, and the old dog became young again. And, you know, the old dog will probably die very soon, but they got 2 more years of vibrancy out of their old dog. It completely changed the old dog to have a new friend to play with. And it was as if the dog was reborn. And that's what we're talking about. That old dog found its purpose, and its purpose was to potentially mentor this little puppy. Al Huxley has a quote, and it says, I think it's possible to make people content with their servitude. It's been done in the past. I think it could be done even more effectively now because you can provide them with bread and circuses, and you can provide them with endless amounts of distractions and propaganda. Isn't that what's happening now? And I'm the type of guy, I know what I'm addicted to, and it's why my wife has a lock on our pantry. And so for me, I just put these rules around me to protect me from things that are addictive to my nature. And you all have addictions to your nature. What are you doing to protect yourself? If it's TV, put a bowling ball through the damn screen. If it's cell phone, get a damn flip phone. You know, it's not that hard. And you know, to really hammer this point home in a really sick, demented way, a friend of mine, his child was in 2nd grade and he had his own iPad. Of course, it was connected to the internet, and they found out the kid had to go to counseling because the kid was addicted to bestiality sex videos. And if you think that sounds extreme, you would not believe how much porn addiction there is out there on young kids. So they send the kid to counseling. They supposedly fix the kid. Guess what the parents didn't do? Teresa, guess.
They didn't take away the iPad.
They didn't take away the iPad. And I'm like, how the hell could you not take away electronics? And it's just bizarre. I'm using the word bizarre again. So why are we talking to you about this topic? We are talking to you about this topic because we want you to have the best possible life in the areas of faith, family, finances, and future. And one way to have that best life is to have the awareness about what's really going on out there. And what's really going on out there is there are powers that be that are dangling in front of you as many distractions and as much propaganda as you're willing to consume. Stop it. That's all I have to say. 2 words.
Great conversation, Rick. It's not an easy topic to talk about because it's just not a popular topic, right? People don't want to hear that they're wasting their lives spending hours and hours and hours a day on stuff that really we all know deep down when we're doing these things, when we have consciousness around it, that it's really not serving us and it's a waste of time. We're wasting our lives, our precious lives. So thank you for having the tough conversation. I know this is one of your favorite topics. And for you out there, seriously consider and write a list. Just look at your day and say, where am I spending my time? Where is my time going? And think about what changes you can make, what rules, what boundaries you could put around those activities to protect you from yourself. This is Teresa Kuhn signing off from Money for Life.
You have just experienced the Money for Life podcast, brought to you by the 100-Year Savings Solution. Implement these strategies today and create a life by design. For more information, visit 100yearsavings.com. Have a blessed day.